Hi, everybody. I decided to do another post today, the last one that I might do in a while. But, been doing alright. My first day at work was alright today. It's pretty good. But, I remember in college reading a book called The Dirty Girls Social Club. And it was like the Latino Sex and the City. I think that book should be a movie. They got They got different ethnicities. They got a Colombian, they got a Puerto Rican, they got a Mexican, and they got I don't know if it's a Nicaraguan. All different ethnicities. They even got an Afro Latina. They got Yusnabis, the Puerto Rican or Dominican one who is engaged to who is with an undocumented man, and he proposes to her. And the reason why she's called Usnabis is because when they got to the United States, the first thing they saw was the U.S. Navy boat. So they called her Usnabis in Puerto Rico. I don't know if they saw the Navy boat in Puerto Rico or they saw the Navy boat in the U.S. So they called her Usnabis, U.S. Navy Usnabis. Just like in the Heights, Usnabis, the guy Usnabis. It's U.S. Navy. It's Navis. It's the first thing they see. I don't know if in the United States in Puerto Rico, the U.S. Navy boat. And so, I read that book, and some of the themes in college, I read it for college class. I called Latinos in the U.S. It was for Latinos in the U.S. And they were like, "Well, is this a fairy tale book? Does it have a fairy tale ending? Do all the ladies have a happy ending in the end? Is this a stereotypical book of what a Colombiana, a Puerto Rican, a Mexican, or a Nicaraguan might be? I mean, a representation of South America, Central America, Mexico, and the Caribbean, Puerto Rican." And they're like, what are the themes? The themes are domestic violence, having an undocumented boyfriend. One likes to shop a lot, retail therapy. So they're educated women who meet up once a month or a couple of times a month to do what is called the Club de las Sucias, the Dirty Girls Social Club. And they call them so dirty girls because they don't follow the norms. They went to college and they don't follow the norms. So they're Club de las Sucias, the Dirty Girls Social Club. And they have open sex and but they have relationships. There's the Colombiana who's a reporter and she's a lesbian. She's Afro Latina Colombian and she's a lesbian. I think her name is Sara. Or I don't know what her name is, but she's a lesbian and she hasn't come out as a lesbian. And she's a reporter, Afro Latina reporter who's lesbian. So, anyways, they have a representation of each one of the continents. I mean, the continents for Latin America, and they have even an Afro Latina one, which is a Colombian one. She's Afro Latina. So it's like they have a Club de las Sucias Temerarias, Temerosas, Club de Dirty Girls Social Club. Do you guys think there should be a Latina Sex in the City? I know, like, African Americans have the show Girlfriends. There's the show The Game. A lot of people watching, and there's Girlfriends was a hit show in the 2000s, 2010s. It was a hit show. When I was in college, a lot of people were watching Girlfriends and Sex in the City. But I'm talking about 20 years ago. More than 15 years ago, they were watching Girlfriends and Sex in the City when I was in college. So now then afterwards they were watching Girls. They were watching Girls on HBO. I didn't watch HBO Girls because I wasn't in college no more, and I didn't want to watch college age girls when I was already out of college. So it's like I don't know how if it was a good show or not, but they said that Lena Durham, there was a lot of politics with Lena Durham because she said something about dating an African American guy. I don't know if it was the African American guy wanted to date her, or that she wanted to date an African American guy, or something like that along those lines. And African Americans stepped up and were like, "This isn't cool." That she's saying that either she wants to date an African American guy, or the African American guy rejected her, which is still not good because she's white, and it's like Lena. Durham in Girls for HBO. So I didn't watch the show, but I remember the politics of Lena Durham. It's like it's like, and they're all white. The same thing with Sex in the City. They're all white, middle class. They're not even middle class. It's like I've read several articles on Sex in the City, and it's like you have Carrie, who's supposedly very successful, marries Mr. Big, but Mr. Big, she doesn't marry Mr. Big. Mr. Big marries a 26-year-old woman who is younger than Carrie, and then he cheats on her, and then he gets with Carrie and then marries her, which is ridiculous. Would you still go out with the guy who left you for a 26-year-old? And then, I mean, and he's a millionaire. He's got money. That's why they call him Mr. Big. But then Carrie is like a broke writer. You know, freelance writing doesn't pay much. It doesn't. I don't know how much it pays, but it depends on how much you write and if it sells and things like that. It's like writers do. If your book is successful or not. So she's a broke artist. I don't know if she's that broke, but there's like where she can't pay her apartment. The episode where she can't pay her apartment, and it's like she's buying Manolo Blahniks. She's buying Manolo Blahniks, and it's like you have, they're all white. They're all white. There are supposedly, and then you have now the reboot and Just Like That, which is supposed to be more progressive, more liberal. You got you got Samantha, who's now a lesbian. You got the PC language. What's her name? Che. You got Che, who's like the girl, the woman from Sarah Garcia, Sarah Gonzalez. What's her name? Sarah, the girl from Grey's Anatomy, who was a lesbian there too. And she comes out in the movie um, with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan too. Sarah Garcia, Sarah Gomez, whatever her name is. She comes out in the movie where there's America Online. I'm sorry about that. I had to sneeze. But it's like America Online movie. I forgot what it's called. You've Got Mail. You've Got Mail. She comes in that movie. Sarah Ramirez. That's her name. I think it's Sarah Ramirez. I think that's her name, Sarah Ramirez. I might be getting the wrong person. It's like you have Sarah Ramirez. So it's like Sex and the City. They're all white, middle class. There's Samantha, the lawyer, who is picking the nerdy guys, the geeks. You got you got Skipper. You got what's his name, Steve. You got Blake. What's his name? I forgot what his name is. And then Carrie. They all have relationship issues. They all have relationship issues, and well, they're not. Is it okay to be stable in a relationship or play the field? Like, are you in a relationship or playing the field? But at the same time, it's like, will you ever be stable or you're just playing the field? If you want to be in a stable relationship, why are you playing the field? If you want to play the field, why are you in a stable relationship? You have to be clear on that too. It goes both ways. The guy's gonna lie to the girl's gonna lie to the guy. So I mean, like, do you want, if you want to be loyal or you want somebody to tell you something, you have to be telling them the truth too. You know. Anyways, so you got middle class as an issue. You have them having open sex, but they're not really stable. They're not stably income. Income. They're not stably income. At least Carrie's not. You got Charlotte, who married the rich guy, and then she inherited money, and then she marries a Jew and converts to Judaism. And I'm not going against white culture. I'm not saying that. I mean, what I'm saying is like there's no representation of people of color. And Just Like That tries to do that. They forgot the transgender or what is it, the child, transgender child? Is it a transgender child? And they have the Che, who's a Latina. They have now Samantha, who's now a lesbian, left Steve for Che. and you have the you have several different people trying to make a reboot of something that might have just not needed it. I mean, I've been watching it, and I haven't seen the second season. I saw the first season, and she's with Cher, so I don't know about the second season. I haven't seen how it's how it's playing out. But it's like you have shows like Girlfriends who are college educated, and not all of them are college educated, who are professionals in the dating field, and they have relationships issues and professional life issues, but they're African American. But is it like, do you see your as African Americans and white people and Latinos relate to people on TV that are middle class or not, or and they don't have inclusion of gay people either. So they don't have inclusion of gay people or people of color who are poor. So it's like, do you see yourself as a relating to people who are middle income, white or not white, and who are not gay? I mean, if you're gay, would you be would you relate to somebody who was not gay? And then you have the book, the Club the Georgia Glow Social Club. There should be like a Latino Sex and the City, but it's stereotypical of Latinas. Not all Latinos are the same. I mean, there's Central America, South America, Mexico, and the Caribbean. And Spain doesn't even count. And then you got the US and Canada, which got a lot of Latinos too. So it's like, would you like a movie where there were Latinas, Sex in the City? A book like the Dirty Girl Social Club? I mean, you should read the book. Maybe you should read the book. And there's the second part, Dirty Girls on Top, which I also read. Dirty Girls on Top. It was all right. I mean, I liked it. I mean, I like juicy novelas sometimes. Juicy, like summer beach reads. What they're called, summer beach reads. They're like romance novels. They're not romance novels, but they're like beach reads. They're not like the steamy romance novels that are like erotic, or the steamy romance novels. They're just beach reads. So it's like I could read. Usually when I was in college, I had to read a lot of books for college, so I realized that I like to read beach reads once in a while. Something more for fun, something that I could relate to as a woman, instead of reading something more intellectual. Although right now I'm reading of Mice and Men and this book on the Holocaust, and so, would you guys like to see a book? I mean, a movie or a show on Latina Sex and the City that aren't novelas. I mean, an English language show. I always considered it. I always thought this should be a book. My opinion is, I think there should be. But how would you make it? Would it be stereotypical of Latinas? If you put a Mexican or a Puerto Rican, are they going to represent all Latinas? Because not all Latinas. I mean, they don't even come from the same country. They don't speak the same either. They don't have the same. They don't even have um, the same background, the same history. You get what I'm saying with this? Would you guys? I mean, how would a Latino for Latinos at least? I mean, for African Americans, they didn't do it based on Africa. They did it based on black in the U.S. But would Latinos be Latinas in the U.S.? And then, what the thing is, but African Americans, a black America, a lot of them has lost ties to Africa. So it's been so much history that they don't have ties to Africa no more. I mean, depending on the person and their family background. But Latinos, unless they're third or fourth generation, but like, would it be a misrepresentation of Latinos to put one one ethnic background, one ethnic culture, instead of putting all of them? So, I mean, it's like, I don't know. But Girls was really popular. It was really popular, and for HBO, for college educated girls, they put a whole bunch of college women having sex in social lives. And now there's the show called sex for the college education. What is it? College girls and sex, or college girls and sex life, something like that. Oh no, I forgot where. I didn't watch it either. But it's like, do I want to keep revisiting college? I mean, at 40 years old, do I want to keep revisiting college? Been about a time, I mean, 20 years ago. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know how that would play in 20 years ago, 2001. We're now in 2023. A bunch of people are going to college now. So imagine going to college in 2023 and being 18 years old and looking at all these old shows or doing the new shows with the politically correct language. I don't know. Do you guys think something like that would work out? Anyways, I just think that like it would be very interesting to see Latinos in the media. Not Latinos in the media, but more like Sex and the City, not like stereotypical. I mean, it depends on. I mean, you would have to know the culture too, because I mean that's the hard part. They would have to do the research on each culture. I mean, that's the book. They said that it was a little bit stereotypical because they said that how could she, as a Texan, as a Tex-Mex Latina, how could she know other ethnic backgrounds that much? How could she stereotype other Latinas? A Colombian, a Puerto Rican, a Nicaraguan. How could she stereotype them? Does she know them, the culture very well? I mean, is it a stereotype or is it supporting the culture? I mean, you get to playing with boys when you get to play. I'm Salvadoran, but I got ethnic background in many different things in Panamanian, Nicaraguan, and other things. But like that's comes from my ethnic background, but I'm primarily Salvadoran. So like when I read Playing with Boys by the same author, Elisa Valdez Rodriguez, I didn't like it because it was like they put a Salvadoran there. And they put a Salvadoran who's very quiet and she's a doormat. She's going through domestic abuse, violence, and she's a doormat. She doesn't speak out about the domestic violence. And I don't know if I read only 80 pages. And then one of them is in Hollywood. But it's like, I didn't want to read about a Salvadoran going through domestic violence who was a doorman and who didn't report it. And through 80 pages, she never talks about the really. And I don't know if her friends knew that she was in a domestic violence situation or not. Sometimes when there's domestic violence situations, the friends would know or somebody who helps out. So I didn't want to read a book where they're gonna put. Once I read Dirty Girls Social Club, I read Dirty Girls on Top, and I read The Husband Habit. But when it got to playing with boys and they put a Salvador and I realized the stereotypical part. It's like, oh yeah, because of the war, they think that they're doormats, that all Salvadoran women are doormats and they're going to allow there's going to, that all Salvadorans are through domestic violence. When sometimes it's not even my thing, because Mexicans are also known for machismo. It's machismo in Mexico. It's not in El Salvador. I mean, they have a machismo in all Latin America, but the stereotype of Mexicans is machismo. That the men are machistas or macho. So it's like, get what I'm saying with this? Anyways, I hope you guys are doing all right. And I just want to put my thoughts out there about like this book I read and what I thought. Anyways, I'll leave you guys with that.